Hey everyone. Oh, recording in progress.
The afternoon now, so I was going to say good morning, but not good morning, good afternoon, JK.
Who knows in lockdown?
I don't know. I'm in this bedroom. I haven't been out for 48 hours, it feels like. How about you?
Yeah, no, I've had a bit of an interesting few days, to be fair. I actually had a COVID injection on Thursday, and then I went to a function, and I walked out, and we're in lockdown.
Oh my
So
God.
I wasn't really mentally prepared for it, and then I thought, oh shit, I actually had a huge week on, so I was supposed to be in Nelson with the Apple and Pear board because they're having a bit of a tough time, and then Christchurch, and then I had a few days in Queenstown for a friend of mine's birthday, Adam's actually. So yeah, I was unusually anxious yesterday. The first day I thought, stuff it, I'm not going to get up, can't be bothered. I was in a bit of a can't be bothered mood, which is not like me at all.
No, it's not.
And then I was really anxious last night because I am home alone, which is not like the last time either. So a few things have changed for me, but I decided to sit with that emotion and work out a bit of a plan about how I'm going to get through. So, yeah, just while we're talking, if anyone wants to throw any questions into the Q&A, feel free. So, yeah, it was a bit scary, to be fair, because I'd been so well, and then it sort of put me into that little anxious space that I can get into sometimes. So I thought, wow, JK, practice what you preach, son, get back to it. So last night, I sort of decided that I'm going to do 5 or 6 things to make sure that I look after myself, get some goals. And I've been just thinking about just getting right back to just doing things on a daily basis. Because then your mind starts going, oh, shit, I'm in lockdown. They say 7 days. And then, you think, shit, I could be here a month. So there's like your mind goes into that shit you can't control.
Totally.
So I had to do the worry map, to be fair.
Good.
So that was
Excellent.
good. Yeah, I did the worry map, which is in Mentemia, which is something that you and I are passionate about. So yeah, it was not a very pleasant emotional day, but I'm good this morning. So I'll tell you what I did.
Tell me what you did.
I started with some fitness stuff, which makes me feel good. So I'm going to start walking, but the end goal, are we allowed to ride?
I think so. Yeah, is half an hour out, and we shouldn't really be giving advice, but I'm pretty sure you can. Outdoor activity is all right. I don't see why not, but I guess someone could tell us in the chat if we're right about that, but I think you can ride.
So here's my plan. I'm running it past you, Fiona. I'm just sort of running it past you. So I'll run it past you and
you can ride.
See if I've learned anything over the last 30 years with anxiety and shit. Here we go.
Go for your life.
Breaking my life into days.
Beautiful.
So not worried about tomorrow, which is pretty cool. I'm going to start with walking, and my goal is going to be to get back riding, because I did that. Remember, I did that ride, and then I haven't ridden since.
Nice. So what you're doing, setting goals. So you're walking, and then with the aim of getting to riding.
Getting back to riding. Yeah. I want to connect. So going to connect with family. I do that every night and every evening because my family's in Italy. Spoke to my other son, Luca, just before. That was really nice.
Beautiful.
And I've organised to get together with a mate of mine later on in the week. I want to learn about ACT. Do you know anything about ACT?
Acceptance and commitment therapy. I do.
Yeah, I started reading a book called The Confidence Gap last week, just because one of the other things I wrote down is learning podcasts. I've been listening to a guy called Simon Mundy, who I did a podcast with, and he did a podcast with me. And I've been listening to his stuff. It's been really, really good. Made me feel so much better.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I did the worry map.
Worry map, yes.
And I'm going to increase my guitar by 30 minutes.
Oh, wow. So how long does that bring you to?
An hour and a half.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm ticking off the pillars as you're writing these when you're talking about these. Amazing. Yep. Playing the guitar.
And only going to watch the news once a day.
And that's probably the most constructive thing to do right now. Except for, and we know that right now probably the Prime Minister is on the air, and people, or those of you who are joining us from Australia, at 1 o'clock at this time, we usually have our Director General of Health, and Jacinda will be talking to us. So we know that some people might be joining us a little bit late because of that. But one of the reasons why we talk about limiting news is because of the way that the brain operates. And when you are overwhelmed with the amount of information that's coming out, that can help, push you into more and more anxiety, because what the brain does is we're wired for negative information, because when we're looking for the negative things in our environment, our brain can keep us safe. So we are clinging on to that. And if we inundate it with all of the stuff that's going on right now, because it's not just COVID, right? There's lots of news right now with what's going on in Afghanistan. There's been Haiti. There's so many things, and we can't control it. Often that's just information. So I like that you're limiting the news to the evening, because half an hour is probably all you need, and maybe just making sure that you're checking the COVID app or for locations of interest if you need to. But if we're inundated with that information, that is going to really push us to feeling anxious, because that's the way that we're wired. So that's awesome. And you're connecting with the people that you love.
Yeah, and that's also a look forward to, because my family's in Italy. I just spoke to Luca, but so that's a beginning and end of the day thing, which is really interesting. But I think what was a bit scary, but also I was really pleased, was that I've been so well, and then I had a little bit of acute anxiety, and the ability to breathe through it, actually.
Amazing.
So getting back to some of the things that I preach to other people, and I just sat with it and breathed, and then I read something positive and just felt so much better, because like you say, that negative loop, right? But once I breathed through it, once I did this breathing exercise, and then, because it was later on in the day, and you keep busy during the day, but sometimes when you got those quiet times, that's when it gets a bit scary. But I did the breathing exercise, and that and I was reading this confidence gap, and a couple of those things just said, yeah, it will pass. Yeah, JK, get back to what you know, what you can do. And it was really nice for me, because it worked, because when you're there, it gets a bit scary. You think, we didn't say that, sorry.
Oh, blow.
Oh, damn.
Dear.
Yeah, damn. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but it feels like that when you're there. So, I think some of those things, if anyone's out there, I know how you feel. Yeah. You do need to take control back, because sometimes anxiety feels uncontrollable. And I think that was that uncontrollable feeling last night. But then I did my breathing, I thought about the positive things. I did the worry map, what I can and what I can't control. And I actually slept really well, and then woke up this morning and I was way brighter. And then I was looking forward to stuff, which was good.
I love that. One of the things that I think I'm hearing you say is that, because you've been doing this for, as you say, 30 years, and what we know about having small things, daily things that you put in your life to build your well-being, it doesn't guarantee that you don't have moments when you feel overwhelmed, and it doesn't guarantee that there are moments when you don't have that anxiety push up. What's good is that you could recognize it for what it was. But I think it's probably reassuring for a lot of people that are listening to us today to know that it's normal right now. Even when we're people like you and I, who actually do have daily practices around anxiety and well-being, that you can have moments when you feel wholly blip. I feel like I'm getting absolutely overwhelmed right now, and I can recognize what I'm feeling, which is anxiety, but I actually need to do something right now to deal with it. And even when you know about those strategies, sometimes you can forget. In the moment, it can feel overwhelming. So if that's what's happened to anyone on this call, one, we say that that's very normal. It would be abnormal right now to not feel anxious. Anxiety is there to keep us safe. There's a reason that we have that fight or flight response. And the fact that amygdala goes when you hear the news about COVID is absolutely natural, normal, and I think healthy. That amygdala in the limbic system, which is the lookout that's designed to start in that fight or flight response. You hear the news, and my stomach dropped. And I had a moment because when I was at work and Kat and I had gone to a cafe in Remuera, we were sitting there and she was talking about design. And she told me, Fiona, there's a case in the community. And because I've got plans, as you know, to go and see my kid in LA, I don't know how that's going to be affected. I couldn't hear her for a while. I was trying to concentrate on what she was saying, but my mind was racing. I was going, what does this mean? There's a case in the community, because I knew what it meant. I knew, as we all did, as we were driving home on, what was it, Tuesday? I can't even remember what day, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it must be. Was it Wednesday? Anyway, driving home, and I could see everyone else was driving home. We knew the inevitability, jumped in front of the TV, hear the news. And then after that, it's almost, for me, because I have a bit of freeze when I have anxiety, it's like I just kind of sat there going, all right, I didn't feel like I could do anything. I just sat and someone else cooked dinner. So I was very lucky because I'm not by myself. And then just started to feel, I felt heavier because I think that we know that this is something that's going to be a bit more solid than maybe 7 days. So my brain went into the future and started to do that catastrophizing thing where I'm sitting in my seat going, okay, so what does this mean? What does this mean for the future? How long are we going to be in there in this lockdown?
You got a trip, haven't you?
And I got a trip planned. I don't even know what's going to happen with that. And so, but what do I know is I know that when you do that, all I'm doing is living in a future that might never happen. I'm exhausting myself. And if it does happen, then I've lived through that thing twice. So it's a very good idea what you said about being in the now, because I think that Russ Thomas, that book that you were reading, he talks a lot about being present in the now. And that's one of the things that I think would be helpful right now for all of us is we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of chatter about we could be in lockdown for X amount of time, how many people are going to have it. What we know about anxiety is it's important to just take one day at a time and be present in the moment and get back to just here. And you talking about breathing brings us back into the moment, stands down the amygdala. And the other thing is you said you were listening to podcasts, or podcasts is a good thing. Podcasts can be a circuit breaker. Doing something that you're listening to and just brings you back into the present is an actually good way of coping, just to give your brain a break.
I also thought that how can I make it a positive? Because I think the two things that got me, and this is really weird, right? Because I've been incredibly unwell, and I've been incredibly well. And for me, just that feeling of not having control was scary. But then I thought, how do I take control back? And that was really interesting for me, because I thought that, sometimes you get into that spiral, and I thought, well, actually, what can I control and what can I look forward to? So how can I make this great for me? And I don't know whether that's my brain, but I sort of go, okay, I can actually do some learning. So yeah, I'm going to do that, right? And I'm going to get a bit fitter, right? And I can do that. I can take control. I mean, I've heard conspiracy theories already.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've heard we're going to be in for X amount of time, but the reality is I'm going to deal with the 7 days, one day at a time, and I'm going to worry about if we have to stay in for another 7 days on the 8th day. But what I am going to do, and this is for my safety, I am going to control today. I'm going to put that in its little box, and I'm going to do those things that make me feel better about myself. And that is a bit fitter, learning. I'm going to learn some stuff. I'm going to learn about this ACT, which really intrigues me. So you mentioned it before. So tell me a little bit about it. I've only just started the book.
Yeah. So you might have heard words like psychological flexibility, acceptance, which is acknowledging your feelings, which is what we talk about. So really it's about living kind of aligned with your values. You're really going to love it. So we talk a lot at Mentemia about when you are designing your 6-pillar program, and Hayley from Dunedin wants us to go through what the pillars are. The pillars are chill, and that's standing down your amygdala. And so when JK was talking about the worry map, which is when you have a worry, what you're doing is testing the worry. And we'll talk about it. I'll get JK to go through it with you because you want us to go back through it. But what chill is all about the kinds of things that you're doing in your day to stand down your amygdala. relax and recharge and switch off. So it might be getting outside into nature, because we know when you get outside into nature, your amygdala stands down because the brain thinks there's food and there's water. You talked about chilling as being, you're going to go back to your worry map and you're going to breathe. So that's filling in that pillar. The second pillar is do. And do is when you're engaging your brain for brain health, and also engaging your brain to get into the flow. And do, you just said that you're going to do some more learning. You're going to learn about Russ Harris's ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, and also listening to podcast counts, anything that engages your brain, because we are creating new neural pathways over the course of our life. And actually, when you do that, you get some of the good neurotransmitters like dopamine, because if you notice how you're progressing, when we learn something new, you reward yourself for it, you build self-efficacy or your self-esteem. There's really good evidence that when we learn things, we feel good. And also it protects your brain and can protect against it as you get older. I feel a bit like I'm losing the plot myself today. It helps us in terms of keeping our brain functioning well and can guard against that age-related decline. The third one is to connect, which JK, you talked about the fact that you're connecting with family in Italy, which is incredibly important because you're on your own at the moment. The fourth,
well, not completely on the own. I've got my future son-in-law here, but he's working. He's Fisher and Paykel. He makes the masks that save people. So he's sort of front line. So he goes to work every day.
So and how's he doing? We can talk. Connect. We go off on tangents. All right. Connect is making sure that you have people that uplift you in your life, because we are social animals. We're born into families. In fact, as far as our brain is concerned, we need people to like us, because our brain is right back in the savannah and in our ancestral times. And if people didn't like us, they might kill us. So we need people to like us. That's why we have that impetus. And also you get some good neurotransmitters like oxytocin. So over lockdown, we really encourage people to make sure that they're connecting, and connect if you're on your own or on your own for great periods of time. And if you're at work, because we've got frontline workers here today, have a chat with your mates, lean on your mates, reach out, because, thank you for doing all the work that you're doing. It's important that you're making sure that you're getting those good neurotransmitters. Really, really important for New Zealand, that you're keeping yourself safe, and which means keeping yourself well. And then the fifth pillar is celebrate, which is being kind to yourself, looking after yourself, and living according to your values, which means, are we doing things that further us in the things that matter to us? So family is really important to us. So we make sure that we try and do things with our family, because family matters to us. So if you're doing things that further your values, you're looking after your mental well-being. And the last is enjoy, making sure you have something to look forward to, and that you're doing something that you enjoy every single day, which is extremely important right now.
Yeah, and I think the other thing for me is the worry map. So when I was really incredibly unwell and I went to my psychiatrist for the first few times, I was worried about all sorts of stuff. So when you worry about stuff that, as Dr. Fiona will tell you, you are in a heightened state of anxiety, right? And being normal is without anxiety, and then you can have different levels of it. I probably had safe levels, and then last night, because I hadn't prepared, didn't even think about lockdown, it sort of jumped at me and I went, yeah, and I had to bring it back down to normal. But one of those things that I got taught was, what can I control? What can't I control? What can I do and what I can't do? And, because I've come from rugby and I sort of think like that, then for me, I had a game plan. The thoughts would still come in, but this is really interesting, because as I went to that heightened state of anxiety last night and then did the things that I needed to do to bring it back down, my mind started relaxing and started thinking about the things it should think about, right? And part of that was saying, okay, I can't control if it's going to be a month. They've told me 7 days. I'm going to take that as, I'm going to believe Jacinda. I'm going to go, righto, girl, I believe you, and I'm going to worry about it further on down the track. So that's I started not worrying about it. So I wrote all those things down, I'm going to be alone during the day a lot. Okay, cool. I've got fui moi moi. My future son-in-law is going to come back in the evening. So, okay, what can I control there? Well, I'm actually going to eat really well. So I'm going to plan that, do that. I'm going to do those other things, going to go for a long walk. I'm going to extend everything by half an hour to chew up the day because I don't want to be sitting around pondering because my brain doesn't need to ponder. And the other thing that's really interesting for me is making sure that I do disconnect that brain of mine, because when I do get a little bit anxious, it moves a bit faster. So unplugging it, and that's sort of the learning, the guitar, the connection, something to look forward to,
Amazing. And the other thing I was thinking about is that, Mentemia, everyone won't be surprised, is that we kind of went into overdrive. So we've got people on this call like the lovely Lucia, who's putting the 6 pillars in there for you. She's been working like a trooper. What I want everyone to remember is that this is not normal times. So if you're feeling less productive than you do usually, go easy on yourself. We are working through a crisis. So if you're getting home and you're working from home and you're feeling, I'm not as productive as I usually am, or if you're one of the frontline workers who are out there and you're finding that you feel a bit like you are walking through treacle and you're not as productive as you have been in the past, I want you to stop and go easy on yourself. These are unusual times. And what I don't want is for everyone to then start working longer hours to make up for it. We have to remember everyone knows what's going on. As bosses, we know that people will need to take breaks and time out, because these are times where all of us have to be thinking about other people and also thinking about ourselves. So we have to reset our expectations. And I think that what can happen is when you start slowing down because you're distracted, you've got kids that you're looking after at home and homeschooling, like the lovely Ian who's in charge of it, JK and I today. What we know is we don't want him to be working all night to make up for the fact that stuff's going on in his life. So I want everyone to step back and start to realize and put boundaries around the amount of work that they're doing, because right now that's not going to help us, and there's a risk of burnout if we have the same expectations about productivity and we try and deal with it by working more hours.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, being kind to yourself is really, really important. I think that I've been really kind to myself in the last 24 hours, just saying it's okay, it's all good. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to start. I mean, I took an extra hour in bed this morning. So stuff it, JK. COVID, you can, right? So instead of sort of getting my day started at 7, I thought I'm going to get my day started at 8. And that doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? You don't have to answer to anyone except your feelings and how you feel. And I think that's how I'm kind to myself. We are in a pandemic, so I'm going to be the best I can be. And I'm pretty confident that if I do that, it'll be enough to get through. But we've also, Ian, we've got a thing that the beautiful team at Mentemia have put together. Have you got that? Can you put that on the screen for everyone, and then people can have a look at it? I thought that was pretty awesome, because as I look through what I did, that's pretty much how I dropped my anxiety back down to how I'm feeling today, which is those things. When I was walking relatively slow, which I think Fu was happy with, because not only has the owner got a bit fat, I think Fu's got a bit fat as well. So he wasn't that keen on that long walk this morning. But, it was really nice seeing the tuis and the trees just outside here. So I forgot about that till I saw it there. And then I think routine, the routine, thinking about what I was going to do today made me feel better last night. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really good. And I've forgotten find the funny, so that's another good one. I'll put that. I'm going to put that down.
Okay. I mean, the keeping to the routine is important because the brain craves certainty, and it's a way of the brain being reassured, that amygdala being reassured that everything is okay. And sometimes when we're under pressure, we can forget things. And I think if you can keep to a routine, you can start to put things in your day. Like if you're going out, we need perhaps to take the mask to the supermarket. So keeping to a routine, making things like when I go to the supermarket, I'm going to put my hand sanitizer in my bag and the mask in the bag, calms down the amygdala, and it makes us makes us more likely to be able to do the things that we need to do. Sometimes when you're anxious, anxiety can be quite good right now because it does push us to do things we need to do. But sometimes when we're constantly anxious, we can get foggy, which is what I think I've been. It's a little bit foggy. I'm usually a little bit more, I think I'm quicker, a little bit more articulate. Lately, I've been stumbling over my words and going, oh, it's because I'm tired. And that's when I start to forget things. So it might be a good idea just to keep a list. What do I need when I go out walking? And then you take the pressure off yourself. And what you're trying to do is make sure that your brain thinks everything's fine. So sometimes it's a good idea just to even think about the things you are certain of. It's a little trick. So when life is very uncertain, you can look around the house and go, what do I know? Oh, I know that this is my phone. I mean, this sounds really nuts, but really silly. I shouldn't say nuts, but this is my phone. This is some water. I'm wearing my headset. And when you do that, the brain calms down. And the other thing for anxiety is if you're feeling very anxious and you get a little bit hot, because it's very common when you're starting to feel the anxiety bump up, that what happens is you get something called vasoconstriction. Your blood vessels constrict with fight or flight, and you can get hot and then cold. Often when you're feeling quite panicked, you can bring yourself back into your body just by drinking some cold water. So having those little tips in the day can be helpful. And finding the funny is actually one of the things that we know when you're dealing with people who really often deal with trauma, is often doctors who deal with terribly difficult situations, or people even who are trauma surgeons in military situations, often have the bleakest and the blackest sense of humor. Humor keeps us going, and it produces endorphins. When you have a good laugh, the endorphins make us feel better. That's part of those neurotransmitters that I talked about before, the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Finding the funny can just make you get through.
What about finding the wine?
I think that might be why I'm feeling a little bit sluggish today, JK, to be very honest. You've seen me on a couple of glasses of wine. I had more than a couple last night, and forgot to drink water. So go easy on the booze, but wine is fine. If a couple of glasses, no problem. Just remember to drink water, because that's what I didn't do last night.
Find the wine. We should have put that up. It should be 13 ways to mental well-being. I think my challenge, people, is I love a drink. And like I say to people, my trouble's not drinking, my trouble's stopping. And I don't think it makes my anxiety any better. So I know that for a fact. So I think it's important to look forward to a glass, but take it easy. So I did the same as you. The first night I thought, I'll stuff it. So I just opened a bottle of wine, and before I knew it, I'd owned it. So I thought, I better take it a little bit easy on there and get back to what I normally do. So I don't. I'm making a seafood soup tonight, Fiona. So I think I'm going to limit myself to one glass of nice white. There you go. Can't not have anything with a nice fish soup, which I'm really looking forward to cooking. And like I said, anyone who knows me knows that cooking's part of my unplug the computer moment. So I'm looking forward to doing that tonight. But I think the alcohol's a really important one. If you are feeling anxious, I know it can be our go-to. I know it's my go-to sometimes, but it doesn't help. So maybe have one, or one and a half, but really get some discipline around it. And I find when I do that, I feel good about myself not finishing the bottle. So it's sort of this weird cycle. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. I mean,
you're the doctor, Fiona. If that doesn't make sense, just make up some shit. Like, it does make sense to make me feel better.
It definitely makes sense, because when we show that we've actually been restrained in our lives, it can remind us, oh, look at us. We should be celebrating our restraint. And I liked Hayley's suggestion that you could pop one of the half of the glass into your soup. So
yeah, nice. Congratulations to me. That's
exactly.
what I'm going to do.
The other thing to do is think about what worked last time. We have done this before, and you will have found that there were things that work. You might not remember, so spend some time thinking about it. I really I think that we have got techniques in our lives that work at times, and we're all different. Someone put up that they meditate at the end of the day, and that's amazing, because it's good to have something at the end of the day that helps you switch off, particularly listening to music. Yeah, that's one of those things. So it's going from work mode to switching off. If you're a frontline worker, incredibly important for you, more important than ever, that maybe you use the time, the transition from work to home in the car as you're driving home to listen to some music or a podcast, something that allows you to kind of rewind and recharge, because there's extra pressure on you, and making sure that when you get home that maybe you spend 5 or 10 minutes doing something that you enjoy just for you. It's very important right now that we have at least one thing that we're doing that we really enjoy. Frontline workers, yeah, I'm done for the day. Tell yourself I'm done for the day, and go and do something that you love and you enjoy. And right now that's must be a priority, because we know that that's a helpful thing getting through really tricky times. And looking after our body includes sleep. I did a dumb thing last night. I did it all wrong. So I did it just for this webinar so that we could talk about it. I drank too much, didn't drink any water. And then I was really tired and took ages to go to bed, because I just didn't want to go to bed. And then I didn't get enough sleep. We know that when things are really tough and we're doing it hard, sleep is actually really important. So have a couple of nights a week where you go to bed a bit earlier. Maybe read your book. Do something that you might not do in another day. You're a great reader at night, hey?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for me. I've been sleeping incredibly well because I changed up my routine just as a bit of a trial. So I do a breathing exercise and then read, and I've been finding that really incredible. Another thing that I think was really important for me is I got back to why. And I think why can be dangerous for me personally. So I just changed that to is, right? So, because if I kept asking why, then I never have an answer. Whereas if I just go, it is,
yep,
it is. And what are the solutions? That was really good for me, because sometimes, I remember when I was really unwell, I kept saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this shit happening to me? Because I had no excuses for why it happened to me. And when I actually started going, well, okay, it just is, what am I going to do about it? And I think that was really healthy for me yesterday too. I said, okay, you didn't prepare for this. Why didn't you prepare for it? Why weren't you ready? No, it just is. Just get on with it, which I thought brought me back to the present, and then started me working on the solutions,
I love that. I mean, we know that life is uncertain, and often the people that deal with the curveballs best are the people that don't say why me, they say why not me, because the reality is it can happen to any of us. And it's the same with getting rid of the should statements. Let's not compare ourselves to other people. Often what we'll do in a situation is, we know perhaps a colleague seems to be they're just bouncing through this, they've got no issues. Well, one, we don't know, they might just be keeping it to themselves. But the moment that we look at how other people are coping and compare them to us, we are creating a big burden for ourselves. Everyone is different. Just go easy on yourself. The rule books are not there. It's all about how we get through. We are all different. So making sure you're looking after your body is incredibly important, and looking after the way that you talk to yourself. So eating well, sleeping, getting outside, getting some fresh air, but also making sure that at the end of the day that you are prioritizing fun, doing all of those things that work for you. And that's about you, not anyone else. That's just what you need, because literally we are different, all of us.
Has anyone got any specific questions they'd like to ask, especially we've got all the brains of Fiona online? That's, as you've probably noticed, I've spent the half an hour talking to Fiona for my own self. So sorry, people, getting a lot of answers and a lot of confirmation. I think the most important thing that the reason why I'm enjoying the podcast is the moment as you hear people who think and feel like you, and that makes you feel good, because actually I've been trying to work through this, and you can actually go, yeah, the people think the same. We're all in this journey. Away you go. So I think hearing that's the same.
Yes.
A really great question.
About yeah. So someone just said that their 9-year-old is too scared to go for a walk right now. And any suggestions about how? So one thing I'd say is start with going outside, because it's important that he's outside, and that start to talk about the fact, all right, so try and work out what it is that he's worried about. Is he worried about the fact that he might get COVID? Because I think that that's probably it. The reality is that COVID is airborne, and that so when you're outside, your risk factors are much less. So it might be about talking to him about the fact. I would start to try and work out what it is that's going on. And if it is that, explain, one, if you're outside in a mask, your risk is very low, like it's extremely low, and that walking is really good for his body, and that you're going to walk with him because it's something that you're doing together. But don't push him to go well beyond his limits. It might be that you start going outside, just into the back garden, and the next day walk to the end of the road and talk to him, because one of the things with anxiety is distraction, so that he's not focusing on the fear, he's actually distracted. Take his hand. If he's a hand holder, just take him to the end of the road, but don't push him beyond his limits. Also think about what exposure he has right now to social media or to news, because I think what we are underestimating is how anxiety provoking the situation is for kids. And what they really need is the truth. And the truth right now is, for being outside, you're actually really safe. Putting on a mask isn't really necessary outside, but it's necessary inside. But if he wants to be extra safe, putting a mask on, being used to a mask and being outside and walking with him might just reduce that anxiety.
Yeah, I think a bit of vulnerability as well. I think just to end that off, just say, I'm scared. You might not be scared of walking outside, but I've been scared. So it's okay. Let's do this together.
Yes, I love that.
I think that's a really good thing, because when I wrote a book about how to parent it, they said show vulnerability, because that's the best thing I've ever used.
Yeah.
Someone just asked on the Q&A, what's the best way to support someone with anxiety? Pretty much what we've done today, I reckon. Talk about it, acknowledge it. There's the ways to well-being. I think the nicest thing, if you are with someone, is you can do stuff with them. Let's go for a walk together, or let's talk about it. Let's talk about your feelings. It's okay. It's normal. I think the greatest thing that I realized about anxiety and stuff is it is normal. So don't ignore it. Step in, say, right, there we go. But then don't. The only other thing is say, help with the things on the list, but then don't keep asking how they are.
Yeah, that's a good one. With anxiety, one of the things is distraction is really important. Actually, speaking as I've had anxiety in my life. I think most people at some point will. And one thing can be helpful when you are supporting someone is not to dismiss, talk if they want to talk. But sometimes what can happen as a parent, what I'll do with my kids is we'll discuss what's going on, and then we start to talk about something else. And after a while, I can watch their breathing. And as their breathing starts to get deeper, I can see that it's very reassuring. And if you're anxious yourself, a technique can be what we call stop. That is, stop, take a breath, just spend some time breathing, observe what's going on. What can you see? What can you hear? What are you touching? And then you're bringing yourself back in your body, and you can proceed. So it's stop, breathe, observe, then proceed.
Yeah, it's just another question about switching off at night. I think while you've got some time, sometimes your eyes might get tired, and there are no rules around this. I've just recently started nailing podcasts and find it as good as reading, so there are no rules. Try stuff and just relax on it. So, try a podcast, try music, we've got the soundscape and Mentemia, but what I have noticed is if I can switch off, I call my active mind Bob the monkey, then I sleep well. And I've really started getting into this routine. And as you start getting into a routine, your brain goes, oh, yeah, it's bedtime.
Yes.
And that says a lot for someone like me whose brain's always active. And there was another question here about, if someone's talking about stuff that's upsetting you. I couldn't quite see that. And I think if you're really, really nice about it, just say this subject, oh, here it is, bad to walk away from a conversation or ask someone to stop? Not at all. I think if you ask, people don't realize they might be talking about some negative shit that pisses you off, and people don't realize. I've probably done it myself, you know, and it's okay. I think it's better to say, oh, you know, I don't really feel like talking about this at the moment. I'll catch you later. And he might say, oh, you know, she or me say, oh, sorry, but walking away is probably rude, but just saying, oh, you know, I don't feel comfortable talking about this stuff at the moment. It's all good.
Yep. We've had to do that in our house. My husband's very good at bringing things up and I'm noticing the other people in the house, and I'm going, okay, you cannot say that anymore. Or we just say, no, that's upsetting us right now. He's learned. Talk about it to someone else, not to me, because this is not for me. This conversation isn't for me. Can we talk about something else? And he's got very good at knowing, because I've been trying for years. He has no instincts for it. So we just have to remind him, because he would talk about things that make me go,
Yeah. I think there's another good one, how to stop a negative conversation loop. I do that all the time because a few things that in my life I just don't have any mental time for, and that's I say that I'm not going to judge anyone. God or Allah or whoever you believe in can do that shit, so I'm not going to waste any mental energy judging shit, right? Because it's a waste of my time. So when I get into a conversation, I just say with people, team, look, this is a bit negative for me. I don't want to waste my shit on stuff I can't control. Let's talk about something else. You know, but I'm pretty lucky because, you know, I don't worry about what people say about me. So if you're feeling a bit sensitive about it, you can just sort of highlight that people are being negative. Because the first thing that I realized in my brain, like back when I was really unwell, was actually I was being negative. And it was a loop, and I wanted to change that loop, and I don't want to get back into that loop. Sometimes I fall into it. I start talking about dumb shit, but you know, I do check myself. So,
well, you could always change the topic by saying, you know what? Have you heard of Mentemia? There's this good app that you can go into, and it will teach you all about speaking in negative ways. Not quite that blatant. One of the things I wanted to remind everyone is that all of the things that we talk about, to a certain extent, sometimes more detail, is in the app. So have a tootle around. We've tried to work really hard to draw some materials together that's pinned to the top of the Explore section of the app. I know that Ian will be sending out things to your workplaces and to emails. Ian and Lucia from our marketing team will be doing that. Understand right now that, again, it's normal to feel anxious, and we all are. To lesser and greater extents. Having strategies, those 12 ways to mental well-being, good way, that's important. Finding what works for you is really important. Reaching out to people that uplift you, that's going to be really helpful. Being kind to yourself, doing the things that you need to do to get through the day, absolutely vital. So the worry map that JK took you through is in the app. It's in the training section. I really, really recommend having a play with it. There's also the breathing tool, which will help you to breathe, because we both are great breathers. It's probably the biggest tool that I have in my day when things get on top of me, is to just breathe deeply in my belly. So thank you for joining us. For those of you who are frontline workers,
we love you.
We love you.
I just think, I think also before we sign off, just from me, let us know if you want to do this again, and when you want to do it again. And have we stopped? Have we?
No, I don't think so. No, okay. I don't think so.
So love to do another one if everyone's keen. But also, Mentemia saved my life. So that's how we started this. All the stuff that we learned, and then Dr. Fiona came on, and there's all the science and all the stuff that actually got me well. The things that are important, and we're about prevention, people. So the greatest thing that happened to me last night was, like I said, I went to that anxious level, and then I put the tools in place, and I got it back down to where I'm pretty cool today. Am I bouncing out of my skin? Shit, no. But am I okay? Yeah, I'm okay. And I'm going to get better, because I know that. So if you want to do another one, just reach out to the team. Really happy to do it as frequent as you people want. I guess the next big one is going to be whether in for more than 7 days or not. We might even bring some recipes along next time. How's that?
Amazing. Lots of love, guys, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Ciao.